I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. Just so everyone knows, this is an informational meeting that Kevin is going to inform the board on. No decisions are being made tonight. This is something that Kevin has been doing the research for the board on all the billboard stuff, so he's got 1.5 years, 2 years of very diligent work. So this is the first time most of the board members are going to be hearing the complete package along with everybody here that's listening. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan, our lawyer, and he'll give a quick outline, what could potentially happen, and then I'm going to turn it over to Kevin. So Dan?
Sure. Yep, just a quick walkthrough of the process so that everybody's on the same page. Once there's a draft of a local law complete, it'll then be, I'll be able to review that. It'll be transmitted to the board. It'll be available to the public. That's going to be the very first step once we get a draft. At that point, the board will review it, and I don't know if it'll be the next meeting or a future meeting soon, the board will decide if they feel comfortable moving forward with the process any further after reviewing the draft. If the process continues at that point, the board has to complete a Secret Part 1 full EAF, and if they come to the conclusion that there's no negative environmental impact, they can initiate coordinated review. So because of the nature of this type of action, you've got to involve neighboring municipalities, so the village. You'll have to send a copy of the local law to DOT. County, Cortland County Planning would be involved. And at that point, there would be a GML review, which would go to County Planning. So County Planning has their own process for review, and they make a recommendation back to the board. They can approve, or they can recommend approval with no conditions. They can put conditions on approval. That's totally up to the county and their review process. At that point, once we get a review back from county, the town board has to schedule a public hearing, which would provide everybody an opportunity to speak on the law, provide their input. That has to happen before any official action can be taken to adopt this law. So in a nutshell, that's really the process. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's generally the process that you're looking at.
Okay. So with that, Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you, guys, and appreciate everybody being here tonight. Last couple of years, I have been diligently working, gathering information, meeting with people, coming up with a plan on how to do this. The approach has been interesting in how to balance everybody's concerns. So I actually got a roadmap that I've followed and put together about what I've been doing and how I've been doing it. So I kind of want to bring you guys forward on where we started to now where I am at tonight. I do not have, I won't be presenting a draft law or a proposed or anything. I was hoping to do PowerPoint tonight and do it, but it didn't work out so well, and I had difficulty with maps and trying to make everything go so that everybody could understand it. I will get that resolved by the next meeting. Actually, Michael had offered to help me do some things with that to make sure it was a smooth presentation. So at any rate, given the fact that we have a small industry area, we have a small general business area that are typically up in the corridor, we're confined with doing a lot in a little bit of an area. We have property owners that have land there, so that makes it another a bit of a challenge to go through. So we wanted to make sure, let's put it this way, I wanted to make sure that the way we gathered the information and put the content together was making sense to take care of all interests and stakeholders involved. So I came up with this little thing that I've been following for the last couple of years, and I want to read it to everybody, and this is what I've done and how I'm following to bring this thing to a result where we can actually have a draft law, if we so choose. And this is what I've been doing. I'm approaching each issue thoughtfully, balancing legal frameworks, public interest, and long-term town planning by listening to everybody first, respecting all sides, and applying smart policy tools like overlay districts where we can arrive at solutions that work for everybody without compromising the character or future of the town. I know there's a lot of people out here that just say no and they don't want it, and I get it, and I'm listening, and you're being heard. So approaching to the constituent issues is obviously I'm listening, common ground. One of my things that I always look at is considering unintended consequences of our decisions. You know, what pops up, what comes around over the course of time, and propose a very thoughtful, carefully crafted solution, trying to maximize everybody's thoughts and wishes. So where I started was what we already had. Right? We have a federal law that was passed in 1965, which was called the Highway Beautification Act. We call it the Lady Bird Johnson Act, where they got control of a lot of signs on 81 on the interstates and things like that. And there are still plots of land on 81 now that are still owned by the Lady Bird Johnson Trust. Okay, so they went through and they developed these issues where they would draw back and create a scenic beauty. They did allow other locations to exist and succeed or stay. So some of those things do exist today. And I have been working in that framework with the federal law, and we do have properties that qualify under the federal laws. Okay? Underneath the federal law, we have the New York State DOT Part 150, the highway law. And they have a off-premise program that handles all of this. Plus, they got a whole bunch of rules for themselves, too. Okay, so if we go on to their thing, they guide everything that's got to do with 81 and the Department of Transportation, which is also regulating signs on the highways. So there is a New York State document that is quite lengthy that has all sorts of rules and everything that come into play as well. So we have two sets of legislations that do. We also have properties that will still qualify after both of those sets are applied. The third one we have is getting down to the local, is we have the Town of Homer Comprehensive Plan. All right, and what we have on that is kind of our guidebook for how we do things in Homer. And I have been into that. It was done and revised in 2013, but the language is there, and I'm drawing language out of our own comprehensive plan for developing light industrial and general business in the areas that are there. So we would encourage growth in those areas, which would be the the Route 11 corridor, the industrial sections, which are located where the mine pits and everything are down that way. And there's two other ones that are located on the town line in way farmland that I think we had to zone that in a long time ago because we had to have a split place for strip clubs under federal law. So those are the only locations we have, okay? But the viable locations we have are general business up Route 11 and the light industrials that we have by the 81 crossover there, the mine pits and how they dug 81. So those are the three sets of laws that I bucketed and I started working with. So then I was actually going out and trying to figure out information. Who wants it? Why do we want it? I contacted the property owners and I asked them if they had interest. And the interest was there. I contacted all sorts of other people, the Chamber of Commerce, our local commerce. I contacted the HBA and tried gathered information that way. And started collecting data on legal. We had a lawsuit challenge here, Penfield, many years ago, on why that did what it did, and I wanted to make sure that the concerns for that were taken care of as well. And just general people that had an interest. It didn't care where you were, where you lived, how you did it. It didn't matter. Anybody could stop me anywhere, call me, talk to me. give me data, I'm collecting it all, and I'm gonna compile it. So we got to that point. And I've got everybody's letters. I've got everybody's letters out here. We've got them in. I've read them. I've pulled everything I can out of the concerns. And I do know that we do have ones that say, no, we don't want it ever. I understand that. And they are also reflected in here as well. We did come up with some technical stuff, lighting and things of that nature that required a really detailed look at things. And so those are the things that we've been dealing with. The next thing I did was understanding the legal precedents and the case law, making sure that we didn't overstep our bounds as a town board. And I wanted to understand all the positions and the equities about how everything happened. So that's something as well as I did. And I came up with evaluating the feasibility of an overlay district model. Because it's such a tight area and we want to do something, or we may want to do something, you've got to watch about spot zoning or just picking winners and losers. And that's been difficult for me because I'm looking at this as an overall thing, and I can't pick winners and losers, but there's going to be some things that are obvious that have to happen. Okay, so I've been very careful about walking that line. And when we get to the maps and everything like that, at some point in time, I'll commit to the policy position. So we also have some legal things in Homer that we've done over the years. In Homer, we've had no zoning in our laws for breweries and things like that. And I was here when Homer Hobbs came before us and asked us for a zoning change to allow breweries in specific areas. I'm remembering when the Quagmire wanted to become a bed and breakfast, we had to change things to allow that. So we can make changes as long as they're positive and look to be positive. And then, of course, everybody talks about the backyard poultry ordinance, the chicken law, which I spent a lot of time on, which was interesting, but it took care of a lot of concerns with residents and farmers, and it really came up with a good solution on how people can have freedom to do what they want to do with their properties. So we've had those local things, and I've been involved in most of those. Another one that I came up with is trying to find the left and the right, not the left and right, but the lane in which I'm operating. And one lane is, no, you will never do it, we will never allow it. And the town of Chemung tried that in Tioga County last year, the year before, and they said they banned no solar farms. They didn't want anything to do with it, go away. And they were soundly defeated in Supreme Court that you can't actually zone out something in existence. Okay, so those are the things that I'm working under and trying to find common ground. I'm looking at no, it's not going to be a no never. And I'm also looking at, and I do have, I wish I could show it tonight, the letter that went out about everybody showing up at a public hearing that showed the billboards from the Watertown look where they had 27 of them and stuff like that. So we went from nothing to too many going on roads, which would distract and just not look very good at all. And I agree with that. So those are my mins and my maxes on what's happening. So I came up with the key concerns of what everybody was saying, and I went and worked a lot of backup data. Anybody that gave me a resource in the letters, anybody that said anything, I was on it, I did it. I retained a consultant who used to be up here, who ended up in Florida. I got on LinkedIn, and I found a guy that used to work up here in Syracuse that is now retired or working down in Florida. And I got into a contract with him to provide me some more of the technicals that I don't understand or wouldn't have enough time to figure out at the time. So he provided pretty good backup data for me. He was my personal consultant at my expense. So I came up with the key concerns that everybody had and went to all the sites saying things. So I kind of come up with about 8 of them as far as how we want to look at things. One of them is environmental and visual, light pollution, structure height, visual impact, public safety, driver distraction, zoning consistency, compatible with industry and business. I don't think a lot of folks know that these are actually general business locations and in light industrial locations. We're not actually in a residential area. Effectiveness, are billboards still effective communication medium? Well, that was some of the things that were brought up. Why do it? We don't need it. Local character, proximity to graveyards, cultural sensitivity, changing the landscape, those types of things. Property and economy, potential for reduced property values, economic environmental impact on actually doing that, whether the positives or property values being reduced. Ethical considerations, addressing issues of conflict and demonstrating transparency as we go through the process, which is basically why I wanted to have this meeting tonight, to talk to everybody at the same time. I just don't have nice little pictures on a screen for you. And then the other things that came up out of the letters and everything were the unwanted advertising, cannabis, sexually oriented businesses. Okay, so we took all those concerns and put them in there. And then one of the other ones was environmental impact, wildlife environment, local economy. So that's how I've come up with our little buckets that I'm dealing with. And I went through and I found information that was in favor, and I find information that was not in favor of each side, and I kind of came down through, and I would work the map and how would we take care of a resident neighborhood. Okay, what would be an appropriate limit? Those types of things, and that's how I actually approached things and came up with what I think is close to a potential working model. I didn't want to go just say, okay, here it is, and I gotta jockey this around. You have residential, and we need to be concerned with those things. But we also need to fit in, into the system as well. And we see a lot of other off-premise advertising going up all over the place. It seems to be coming back, believe it or not. But those are the types of things that I did. Having too many billboards was a concern. Certainly having like Watertown had, or those, I went up there, I actually went to Watertown and took pictures and saw what was going on up there. And that's what happens when you don't have regulation and zoning. Understood, message received. So we have those things. So I came up with what I think is reasonable based on the land that we have and how it is zoned. So some of the features are, we're staying 500 feet away from habitable housing. And I came up with that lead in because we can shoot shotguns at how many feet, Barry? 500 feet. So I figured if shotguns are there and everything like that, that probably 500 feet seems to be a consistent distance for allowing some kind of buffering to protect property rights and general concern of other neighborhoods. So other things that I came up with are the distances between the boards. Okay, that was something that I had to do, and I kept driving up and down Route 11. I've probably driven up and down it probably 50 times by now. Okay. Just kind of trying to get the land and see what everybody sees out there and see how it would fit. So we do have some limiting distance issues, spacing. I call them spacing, that will keep things in line for what I see is a possible compromise. A couple of the things that I came up with were a total maximum based on the district. You can't go past a certain amount. And I believe it stands right now as no more than 2 in a general business and no more than 3 in a light industrial. I did separate light industrial to that. And it could change. It could change based on tonight's feedback. It could change, however we do it. There are some other things that automatically go in from the state DOT, like 500 feet from any interchange, no more than 3,500 feet in between digitals, should they go up on the same side. And there was about 5 or 6 other ones that the DOT Part 150 automatically kicks in on. I relied on their studies and everything for traffic and distraction and everything like that, and I have supporting documentation from the DOT off-premise sign program, commercial off-premise sign program, that will support what they say, what they're offering and what they allow. So we do have backup data on that. I did go through, Stephanie Spina sent me a list of cases and stuff like that, and I did go through that and give that consideration as well. And I did play somewhat of a partial role in how we arrived at these things, these possible compromises to allow this. The other things that I did to get me to this point is kind of keep track of my sources. Everybody's going to say, your source is no good, this is that and that. So I kept track of all the sources that I did. Okay, and I just remembered a couple while I was talking, I wrote down, what we did to provide diligence to the board, as I did. So we contacted the government official sources of the Department of Transportation, which played a very large role. They have a traffic viewer website that shows the traffic on 81 and the potential economic impacts. They have the off-premise advertising guidelines, and then they're Part 150 of the highway law. They also have the New York State Office of Traffic and Safety variable message sign guidelines that I've relied heavily on. I relied on the National Institutes of Health impact of billboards on driver visual behavior. I tried to get into a FEMA or Amber or something like that to offer, but nobody was interested in that. I thought it was a good idea, but I couldn't get any agencies to have a program. I mean, they have permits and they have things and everything, but nobody wanted to talk to a little town of Homer on something of that nature. So that kind of didn't go where I thought it might go. New York Alert is one. Didn't go much anywhere. New York State rules on cannabis marketing. They actually have publications on that, which will tell you exactly. I know there were some concerns about cannabis. Probably they're gone away because we sell cannabis in downtown Village of Homer now. So, I mean, advertising a legal product is probably going to be there, and you're probably going to see them all on the boards. I see them every day now. It'll settle out. New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. I went with them. I know I was getting feedback on, nests and habitat and stuff like that, so I ran and worked that one. The lawsuits that I mentioned earlier, I had been meeting with county legislature with sales tax information and what kind of impact getting tax dollars to visit the village, obviously the village in our town, me personally. I'm very pro town of Homer and pro village, but the economic impact for the entire county once people are visiting and stopping, and of the 31,000 cars a day up and down 81, how many we can get to stop here, drop their money here, and go. One of the other reasons that I think this may pan out is I've been spending a lot of time in Cazenovia and Skinny Atlas, and I've been studying what they're doing and everything. And I'm starting to think of a Homer, Skinny Atlas, Cazenovia, I don't know what you call it, tri-area, where we have people that are traveling up to there to go spend their dollars. And it's certainly easy enough for everybody up there or in Skinny Atlas to come down here for a Sunday breakfast, for a dinner. We have incredible restaurants that are trying to come in. And they're going to have it. So you see a lot of potential for that. And then the other sources are And that was the sales tax. Okay, the other source is town Homer board minutes. Everybody's special public comment. I've been going through and listening to those and rereading them and making sure that I haven't missed anything. So I'm a member of the American Sign Council. The International Dark Sky Association I use for the guidance for electronic message centers, and the 5 principles for responsible outdoor lighting. That played a good part in that. The Outdoor Advertising Association of America. Homer News, I did an interview with them, I believe. And I listed those as all sources that have contacted me or have done. Industry experts or companies, I had reached out to Daktronics on technical. Watchfire Inc. is another company of that nature, and the consultant that I retained on my behalf to talk about, let me talk about things and ask questions too. So lighting issues, the way they deal with spillovers, the way they deal with the technology that allows up and down lighting and auto sensing and stuff like that was something that I needed to bring input on paper. Okay. So the other thing I did was I contacted businesses, Cortland County Chamber of Commerce. I think we already talked about that a little bit. The Homer Business Association and what they would think and how they would feel about the potential of advertising on signs on 81. You guys got to realize I never went anywhere outside of an 81 corridor. I never went to Route 11. I never went to Route 13. I didn't think, based on what I was hearing and seeing, that the resources that we would get, or the economic impact or whatever that everybody thought we would get, would happen more on 81 than having signs on Route 11 and Route 13. Now, given that nature, I know Lansing has some smaller digitals on their road past to go to Myers Park. I don't remember that road number. And they've got Route 13 now has one on the Gutches Park, and they just put another one up on 13 by Hanshaw Road. Okay, so they're getting to the secondary roads. It's not something that I incorporated or wanted to incorporate. I didn't see and I didn't feel that I had that feeling from everybody that I was talking to. So we did that. Cortland Standard articles. We've had over approximately 21 articles on the Cortland Standard, several on the radio and media. So definitely the word has been out there. We use them as a resource in their quotes as well. Orleans Hub was a source that I had. There was a Medina Theater over in Medina, New York, and a guy by the name of Anthony Cardone, he's a DA over there, was trying to refit the building and do something, and their marquee doesn't do light bulbs anymore. So he wanted to do some digital and stuff like that, and they were working through a historical building versus trying to move forward and modernize and make the building with a little bit of life. So I followed that one on how they were trying to work potential compromises, codes, and things of that nature. Another one I came up with was the Landmark Theater. Has a triple marquee out front. One of our most famous buildings, one building that I love and I like to be. So we see things moving in. Now, whether that applies for us or not, we have to figure that out, and that's what I would probably bring to the board. So people that I interviewed, I guess I wouldn't say interview, but personal communications that I talked to Mike Brady in Dark Skies, Andy Koval, I went and had a meeting in his house. He's a summer resident, I believe, in Little York Lake. Chris and Andy Young, I personally spoke to. They hosted me at their home, and with their letter, I took some of their concerns. I did speak with Michael Niswander, the property owner. I've had conversations with Pat Kloon. I've had conversations with Chief Pittman regarding traffic on Route 90. And I've spoken with Douglas Johnson at the New York State DOT, Region 3, Office of Right-of-Way. Don Richards, then the current president of Homer Business Association. James Bedrin wrote a letter April 23 and provided a source page, and I was doing a boatload of research on that. I didn't speak to him, though. Bob Haight, I did speak to him, Cortland County Chamber of Commerce, regarding interest. If there's no interest, there's no interest. Pierre Baudry was certainly vocal with me as every time he rode his bicycle by. And I'm grateful for Pierre expressing his opinions. Tompkins Street, neighbors, proximity to the LED signs operated by the Cortland County IDA. On Tompkins Street in Cortland by the old Red Dragon, there is a digital sign there, which is very close and very prominent and has no buffer with houses. And I spoke with the folks down there, two folks down there, and they're not registering any complaints with me as far as what is happening with their situation and their location. I also was speaking to the staff. Was now a former Country Inn and Suites. I think it's a Marriott now on 281. Across from the other IDA board, next to the state DOT. There's a digital one there. And I'd spoken to their staff and stopped in several times. Hey, is anybody complaining about signs that are, within 150 feet of the hotel? And there was nothing to report on that. Nobody was saying anything. I had conversations with Kevin Fitch regarding sales tax issues. Obviously, we all know that that's a biggie, what our portions are, what we're going to lose, how we're going to lose it, how we're going to try to make it up. Can this make something up? Can it help? Okay. I've spoken with Don Ferris and the Village of Homer Planning Board. I've spoken with Gary Lawrence, summer resident. I've spoken with Emmanuel Pothos. I've spoken with Victor Siegel. I've spoken with Tim Malchek, property owner. I've spoken with Warden Joanne Ducalo. I've documented all the letters that were written, that were sent to me, and phone calls, which I don't get too many of. I've documented Stephanie Spina's stuff that she wanted me to look at, case law and stuff like that. I've spoken with Paul Pecorella from Daktronics and Anthony Cardone, the district attorney from Orleans County, regarding his special, unique thing that he was trying to do. So, online and social media, okay? I have followed Dark Sky. I know you guys wouldn't let me on there, but there seem to be about 10 texts every day sending me screenshots of everything. I would like it if you guys would make me a member. I would relish being able to talk to you guys about that. So I did take information from there as well, and go from there. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I've been doing to try to get to this point. And like I say, I wish I had this PowerPoint to show you in this great big thing tonight, but I don't. But I do want to get some of this stuff on the record about how we approached it and how it has been sometimes more than difficult to try to figure out and follow the framework on what we're trying to do. So that kind of brings me up to this point. As far as what I'm doing, I had difficulty making maps today, and what I think I'm doing, I'm very close to following what Attorney Ellis said tonight, is that once a document has been completed, I will forward it to the town attorney, and you will do something with it and then distribute it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. It will probably be ready within the next 10 to 14 days to do that, or sooner, okay? So my thing, once I hit the button on that, you'll have it, and then you've got it, okay? And that's what we're doing. And then from there, it would either be distributed, and then it would have to go up on the website or the agenda items, and then get everybody here, and then you can figure out the public comment and stuff like that. Is there anything that I've missed, guys, or anything that I should be running around doing, or anything that I'm missing?
On the overview, you're fine. How about, are you gonna get into more meat of it now?
I'm comfortable doing this right now. Again, I wish I could have done the PowerPoint, but since I have to meet the agenda requirements for dispersal, I'm basically stuck doing this right now. okay? So I'm gonna call it right here and get this stuff on the record about how we approached, and then, try to finish that draft law and get it to the attorney. I don't know that I'd want to do anything without an attorney, and then do it from there. Is that, I mean, I'm happy to go forward, but I will take advice from counsel.
No, I'd rather see a copy of it, transmit it to the board,
Okay,
and then we share it with the public.
okay.
So just for clarification, so I see, what I see happening then, Kevin, if you're gonna draft a rough version of the law for this consideration, so then we'll call a special meeting, so you're gonna get it to Dan, Dan's gonna read it, make sure it meets the requirements, I'll get it to the board. At that point, I will schedule a special meeting, but then you're gonna have PowerPoints and everything, because we're gonna need a whole lot more
Oh,
information.
yeah, you'll have everything. It may be a stack of documents like this, or if I can make it electronically. Like I say, I think if I came tonight with a PowerPoint, I could have done something, okay? Because I didn't have documents in advance of everything, okay? I didn't want to cause any issues as far as us getting documents and the public not getting documents at the same time. So there'll be one way. It'll either be a ton of documents or it'll be a PowerPoint.
What about just the actual, sorry, I was under the impression you had a draft that you were proposing.
There is a draft law out on the website now, okay? And that was the one that we originally did. I do have some updates on something, but I wouldn't want to do a draft law tonight because I didn't put it on I didn't have 24 hours notice to get it up there.
So the board knows, so, and when Kevin is just gonna write a draft law, and that's strictly what it is, a draft law. He's gonna go through the information with the board. The board has the right to look at that draft law, modify it any way they see fit, and then make a motion that this is a draft law. So at our next meeting, the way I see this playing out, Kevin will have a draft law, it's gonna go through the attorney, everybody will get it. He's gotta present all this information. We're not gonna vote that night, you guys are just getting this information for the first time. Well, now we're gonna need time to absorb it. We're gonna have another big public open meeting, and that'll probably be 2 or 3 hours, let the public have their say. And then with that, we can make a motion to drop it or to move forward. So we're gonna have at least 2 or 3 more meetings to make this happen. To do it correctly, we're gonna make sure the public has ample opportunity, everybody get 2 minutes, if there's 200 here, or whatever. That's the time it's gonna take, and we will go through it and do it the correct way, I promise that. We said all along we would not discuss this in a normal board meeting, and we have stuck to that, we have not, and we will not. It will be always a special meeting, so everybody can attend. Our boardroom's kinda small. And during a normal board meeting, we got such a busy agenda, this is very specialized, I don't even wanna, so just rest assured, never in our board meetings that we have once a month where we discuss billboards. We haven't, and we will not, always be at a special meeting, so everybody will be well informed and attend it. So Kevin, what else, is this all you wanna present tonight?
This is what I want to get onto the record about the history and how we got to this point, all right? And I'm glad that Dan has clarified exactly what we're going to do. And like I say, whether we call it a draft law, a proposed law, there's some legal definitions there, I just don't. This is just stuff that I put together that I'm talking about that we have to have in some ways, and that we've been able to restrict in other ways to help. One other thing that actually came across is they're not going to be 14 by 48. They're going to be 10.6 by 36, and they're not going to be more than 40 feet high, based on how I've seen everything out play. So we've got some pretty good considerations. But again, this is Kevin, his information, his stuff. It doesn't be, I guess I give it to Dan, and then it becomes a board thing, and then the board can deliberate and do what it has to do or not do.
So once you write that draft law, Dan, and once we get it, then I will schedule a special meeting. We advertise it on our website, we advertise our paper right now is the Syracuse Post Standard. So, yeah, that's our official paper. Cortland Standard, we did put an ad in the Cortland Standard because they are up and running, and we will continue to do that. At the Cortland Standard, I'm just saying that, after a couple of months, we'll go back to making them the official newspaper, but I want to make sure everything is going smooth with that. We'll do everything we can, so everybody will have a couple of weeks' notice on when we're going to have a special meeting, so you can be here. We're not trying to hide anything, I promise you that. We're gonna be well advertised the best we can. So you guys are gonna have to take it upon yourself in a couple of weeks. Just be checking, I would say the town website is probably gonna be your best option. The papers, it's a little blurb, we can't help that, but it's just a little blurb, and that's what they put in the legal notices. If there's any other ways, I mean, we get it on any website we can possibly get it on, so we will get it out there. The good news is we are looking to update the Town of Homer's website. We're actively involved in that. We're trying to make it more user-friendly so that when you get on our website right now, it's not as user-friendly as we'd like it. So we are working on that. So hopefully our information will be quicker on there and more accessible to everybody. So with that, if there's nothing else.
One last thing, to ask the question again, is there anything I'm missing or anything that I have not touched or put into this decision process that I should take?
Have you spoken to any of the planning board members that did the review a year or two ago? Like
I
Mike
actually
McMahon,
have a
anybody like that?
document, I have document from them, I have their board minutes, and I have spoken to one of the board members, yes.
Because I never saw anything written up from that. I'd like to see.
The minutes
I just heard
were,
about it.
there weren't a lot of minutes, okay, taken, it was just kind of actually, I can send the letter that I have if you'd like it, and that's the basis of what, from the planning board, okay? Other than that, that's basically how I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna kind of move forward and dot the i's and cross the t's, and we're having another meeting.
Good.
And the public comment tonight?
There's no public comment tonight. I'm gonna adjourn the meeting and then you're free to talk to any of the board members.
Oh, that's, please, everybody has my number, please call.
This is an informational meeting, and by state law, we can do an informational meeting to the board. We're gonna adjourn the meeting, and then you can talk to the board members and express your
There's
concerns.
some information that's lacking though. Information on one, didn't mention the fire department. Can the fire department handle an emergency and or a fire?
This is the stuff that we're gonna get into in the future, so Kevin just went through, that's what we're trying to explain. So we're gonna have more, be more information,
Time.
so this meeting is adjourned.
And then
Thank you.
billboard operators,